Okay, I didn't film me emptying all this out, but I will show you in the manual, shop manual on page 6.4. It has the cooling system and it shows where the two drain bolts are. Remove the drain bolts from the cylinder and subframe. So you can see the radiator hose goes here, down into here, and that drain bolt is the one they're talking about. And then the other one, it's hard to tell here, but it is right above the filter, right there. If you're looking at your, um, you know, thing cover, it'll be right here. It's a flat wheel. And it also gives fill 50-50 mixture, yada yada yada. I'm just gonna fill it up, probably with water for now. I took the fan off with the intention of sanding and painting everything, but I hate sanding and painting, so I didn't do either one of those. Also, this fan is broken. I broke it, but I don't know that yet. I know that you already know how to remove and install bolts and nuts, so feel free to, just continue on here. So I know I've got all these other parts to put on. You can see those that I have taken off, and I did sand and paint along with some of the other plastic pieces. I will do those later. For the time being, I'm just trying to get the necessary components on here. I had a really difficult time getting all the paint off of that. I had to soak it all in brake fluid for like a week inside a trash bag, and then I still had to sand some of it off. Something, something, something. I don't know
Radiator is
what I
pretty
was
easy
saying.
to take on and off. It will go like this because there's our inlet from the bottom of our reservoir. So you've got this mount here and this mount here, and that will go there and there. pretty tight squeeze. Let's get moved around over here. That's a number 8. And the one on the other side is a different size for some reason. So take this little guy here.
Gee, I hope that strap that I put on there works right and I don't have to take everything back off in a minute. Again, I probably should have just skipped through a lot of this, but I hate when I'm watching a video and I'm like, all right, here's the part that I wanted to see, the part that I'm having trouble with, and then it skips and they already did it. You know? Also, my wife is sitting in here staring at the back of my skull, and I feel like she's making fun of me. Like she's not, but it feels like she is. Feels like I'm in like high school or grade school, and I have to like talk in front of the class. I probably could have just pulled a little bit harder on that elbow and gotten it off, but in my mind, somehow I decided that it would just make more sense to take half of the whole thing apart for some reason. Anyway, I told you that I balled out and bought like 1,000 straps. So here we are. I think I put this on backwards. I think those hooks or straps should be on the other side. Even after I do it, and even now, I'm still not 100% sure. At some point, I flipped it over again, but I can't remember if this part is the again or if there was another again later. Because I was thinking that it was used to hold that cable, but the hooks are there to hold your plug wires in place. So who knows? Also, remember that piece right there, um, because it will have to come off for another reason later. I hate to keep you in suspense, but
There's supposed to be a
you'll just have to wait and see.
grommet right here. You can see the remains of one. And that will lock into that right there. But for now, being as this is temporary-ish, we're gonna let it slide.
If you've watched all of these, you'll realize by now that I claim everything on here is temporary-ish. That's just a word that I use when I'm not going to do it. Also, I already in my normal day to day sound nasally and whiny, but I've actually been sick this weekend, so I sound extra nasally and whiny. So sorry. That is for our fan motor. There is a plug for it on the other side, and we will get to that shortly. That's our radiator hose that comes from, reservoir hose that comes from the bottom of our coolant reservoir. I'm just trying to get it in a good spot there with my favorite tool, zip ties. You have a little set screw on the radiator fill cap there. You'll have to back it out some or take it out to get that cap off. Again, not real sure why I chose to keep every second of this in here. Of all the things, I'm sure you could have worked that one out without me. And as although we haven't done 300 of those already, I had to, I guess, show you how to put it on there. Now that is the plug that goes in there. I don't really know what it's for. Maybe the thermostat. No, the fan plugs into the thermostat on the other side. That, I don't know. It's something to do with temperature, I'm sure. Probably. I don't think that brush did anything at all to any of that stuff, but really felt like I was doing something at the time. Here we are. There is your thermostat. I paused because I'm not really sure if that's the thermostat. So I'd probably look that up for yourself before you started telling anybody that. What else would it be, though? And for some inexplicable reason, um, I didn't like the position of that strap. So I'm going to put it halfway on, and then let's go ahead and pull everything apart and flip it over for absolutely no reason I can see at all. Let's make sure that it doesn't match the other one for no reason. Awesome. Excellent. Or one more. Flip it 3 times. That looks stupid. There was I had some logic when I was doing it, but that knowledge has fled from me. Wow, that sure is a nice clean set of carburetors there. Like, I think that right there is like a temperature sensor slash probe, and then that plugs into the fan. So if the thermostat is like, yo, I'm hot, the fan will come on, right? Maybe. Wait, that doesn't come from the fan? It does. It does. It does come from the fan. There you go. Let's check everything. Make sure it's all tight. Ignore that. We'll worry about that later. I recorded this. I don't know why, but I did. So now you have to watch it. I refuse to take it out. There's nothing you can do about it. It's an artistic choice. Sorry if you don't understand. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to put coolant in because things will inevitably go wrong at some point, and I will have to dump all this out and take everything apart. So as long as I'm not worried about it freezing, and I'm not because it's summer, I'm going to keep putting water in it. Um, Obviously, the whole system will take more fluid than that, but what you'll do is get it started and running and fill it up as it runs down and bubbles down. I'm just double checking that bottom drain there. Or I'm opening it up a little bit, making sure there's no air in there. Um, just trying to help it drain down some. It wasn't necessary, but in my mind, I thought I was doing a good thing. That's kind of my MO, is just waste time on things that don't matter. There's the cap again. That takes me quite a while to get on. If you don't take that set screw out entirely, it has to only be in like one or one and a half threads, and then you got to get it in just the right spot. I overcomplicated it, but I do eventually get it gone. Get it on. Screwdriver, screwdriver, screwdriver. I've had this super loose because my clutch cable, choke cable, as you can see, is not there. I had to take all that out. I got rid of that clutch cable entirely, and I've got a new one. I do have to put those pieces back up there though, because I think my blinker is on that switch. I may move those two. I don't know. It was kind of raggedy ratchet anyway. Obviously, this is temporary. I'm not using the upper tank right now, so I'm just putting a bigger hose on this fill neck here to the sub tank so I can easily put gas in it as needed. And that's how this will stay for as long as I'm still working on it, which, the way things have been going, might be a very long time. Here's another example of wasting time doing things. Uh, Maybe it's not wasting time. I was worried about when I was pouring gas into that funnel and trying to hold everything together. I was worried about it just flopping down. So I stuck that through there and hooked it around some aircraft cable that I've got up at the ceiling. And our plug wires and boots. It's a boot time. Sorry. See, I rerouted it because that hook was obviously not for that. It's for these plugs and boots. I'm just going to do these front two. I'm sure you can. Well, I'm only doing the front two because those are the only two that I have off. Otherwise, I would have recorded all four. But I'm certain that after seeing one, you could figure the rest out. And on this bike, you don't have to worry about putting the boot on the wrong plug because these plug wires are made to just reach their respective plug, so it wouldn't reach to another one. I don't think if you wanted it to. And here it is again, exactly like the last one we just looked at. See, there's the back ones done. Um, I know that this is probably almost certainly not where some of this stuff goes, but as I like to say, it's temporary. I just want to get everything hooked up. That guy goes under there, and that bracket holds these plugs, and so forth and so forth. We'll do that later before we put the wheel on. So I'm just gonna find everything that matches up and get all this plugged in. I don't know what each and everything are. Some of it's probably tail lights. Some of it's probably some sort of relays for blinkers or who knows what. Um, One of these maybe like provide spark for the spark units for the plugs. There's some stuff if you want to look it up instead of hearing me just make wild guesses that probably aren't right. Look at that. Like they were made for each other. They were. If those things don't go there, then I don't know where they do. It's been a long time since I took those off. All right, we're just checking some stuff out here, making sure we're getting ready to turn it over. So I'm just making sure that everything's plugged in tight. I don't know if it matters which side of the spark unit each wire goes on. Um, I guess if it's wrong, they won't spark. It's not going to hurt anything though. Let me touch some more stuff. And this is the first time I've put anything in this sub tank since I made the JB Weld repair, so I'm a little bit nervous here. I sure would hate to spill gasoline all over the floor. Sure would be awful if that happened. Gotcha, no leaks. So we'll carefully pour a little more fuel in. Wow, that fuel is well hydrated. Look at the color. Let's check again. No leaks. I knew it. Everything I did was perfect. And I'm triple, quadruple checking everything out just to be sure. And after a full inspection, I didn't find anything at all. And just in case there is a leak, let me make sure that I put that catch pan nowhere near the fuel. Clean those bad boys out. So since the carburetor bowls are completely empty, the pump is completely empty, I'm going to unplug the fuel pump here, and I'm going to manually pump it, manually activate it to get fuel into the lines and up to the carburetors. So we're not just turning it over and turning it over dry over and over again, which turns out to be a really good thing for us. I believe you've got a green and a black wire on the plug there. The green is going to be your neutral or negative, and the black is going to be your positive wire. I'm just going to put some alligator clips on there. So we'll clip that onto our negative side. And I love this sound. Make sure the petcock is open. What? There's something dripping? How did that happen? I checked everything. It's not like I missed a strap on the fuel pump right there where I drew that red circle. What an idiot. And the gas is just, I sped this up, but the gas was just running out and running out and running out. And I was like, as soon as the pump's emptied, it'll stop and then I can fix it. But what I didn't realize is that with the petcock still open, it performed like a vacuum or a siphon effect, and it was just kept pulling it out. So I dumped out like a half a gallon of gas thinking that it was just going to stop on its own in the floor. But if if I hadn't manually pumped it and I was just standing up the front of the bike pressing the starter, I mean, how long would I have gone before I noticed it? Man, I love this guy's videos. We get to watch him put on 1,000 hose straps every time, and he just leaves them all in there. Now, I don't know. Um, what is it? MS Material Safety Data Sheet. I don't know if our MSDS says anything about baking soda, but it's what I had. It's supposed to absorb things and soak up odors, so logically it made sense, and I feel like it worked. Or maybe it's just because I left it there for like 3 weeks before I cleaned it up. So we're gonna go over here to the other side. This is coming out of the pump and into the carbs. So that's our last line of defense before the carburetors, and we can see that it is filling that full of fuel. So should be ready to go. And I know that everybody knows how to put a battery in, but it's the last step. You have to watch it. You know what Molly says, right? It, it ain't about how fast you get there. It ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb. I don't know if that's where that goes. It has to go somewhere around about there. I'm probably missing a bracket or mount or brackets and mounts. I don't know. But I do know that with a couple of zip ties, you can put it anywhere. So I had the negative cable on the inside of the frame. I didn't like it. I took it out and I brought it around the outside of the frame, and I didn't like it again. So I brought it back inside and ran it on the inside of the frame. Um, that's probably what takes so long. Wow, this sucks. Is this all this guy does? Is take out and put in batteries over and over again? And slowly at that? Okay, yada yada yada. Got that thing there. We're gonna do the exact same thing that we literally just finished doing. So that's my little homemade replacement fuse I put in. There was a little flat, just piece of metal fuse in there, but when I touched it, it crumbled into
So because
dust.
I don't have this hooked up, that'll travel through there, and it comes through here. So this and this.
So when the key is in the on position, your ignition is connected to your battery, which is connected to your fan. And your ignition is a red and black wire, your battery is a red wire, and your fan is a blue and orange wire. Tail light 1 and tail light 2 would normally be connected also, but we don't need those to test. Here's another picture, red wire and 2 yellow wires. Basically, I've got the red wire going to the battery and the 2 yellow wires going to ignition and fan. So when I connect that together, that connects the battery to the ignition and fan for temporary testing purposes. And since the fan is broken, like I told you about earlier, I am unplugging it because I broke the bearing inside somehow, and it just sounds like a chainsaw. So we're not going to be doing that. Here it goes. Surely nothing can go wrong. It may or may not be obvious in the video, but this thing sounds like absolute dog shit. It sounds way worse than it did the first time I started it, before I worked on it. Right now I'm trying to figure out what the heck happened. I should have turned it off already. It sounds, when you're close to the engine, it sounds like it's about to explode. Disgusting. It's valve chatter, but like valve chatter and then some. In my mind, I feel like if I just keep listening to it, it'll just go away, and I can just pretend. Maybe if I just rev it a few more times. it just sounds worse and worse and worse, and I just keep like giving it more gas. So I turn it off. I'm gonna pull that plug there because that's kind of where it sounded the worst. See that sticker right there that says 105? That was the compression on that cylinder before I did all the work that you've seen. I also haven't mentioned it yet, but I also did a valve adjustment prior to this. And well, that's the problem. That's the reason why it sounds like shit, because I did a bad valve adjustment. I killed like half the compression in this cylinder. I didn't even bother checking the rest. I just tore everything back off and did it again, which will be in the next video. And as far as I know, it's the only full valve adjustment on a 1985 Honda Magna V30 500 on the internet. I don't think another video of a full valve adjustment exists. So you're welcome. Make sure you check back. And thanks for watching again.